need a business plan? And if so, how do you write one? I'm your host, Carissa Karner, and my guest today, David Brown, can answer all your business plan questions. David is a leader in business planning. His message is designed to help entrepreneurs understand the need of a business plan and remove the fear and pain of the wrong plan. David's written two powerful books. His first book is called From the Bottom Up: The Ultimate Guide for Business Planning to Profitability. It's a step-by-step guide for writing a business plan in a no-nonsense formula. Now, I have looked at this book and it is incredible. In fact, my husband is thinking about starting a business, and I'm going to use this book to help him craft his business plan. Now, David's second book, Journeys to Success: 21 Empowering Stories Inspired by the Success Principles of Napoleon Hill, was an international bestseller. Now, David is an in-demand speaker and a consultant who has helped many clients write their business plan to meet the requirements of lenders and to operate their business. He shares his 35 plus years of experience owning and operating a business, and he saves entrepreneurs time and money. So important. Now, his work has been featured on Blog Talk Radio, Bold Radio, Partners in Success, Journey to Success Radio Network, Business Creators Radio Show, and many others. His advice is sought after, and we are so lucky to have him here today. David, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those kind words and allowing me to be on your program. I'm greatly honored.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for you to share your wisdom here. And I'm really curious, how did you get into helping people with their business plans? How did you land in this particular niche?
It was actually by accident, how things happen for the right reason at the right time. I was helping in my prior career, I was an insurance agent, and the company that we worked for says everybody has to have a business plan. We need it submitted by XYZ date. So okay, I had reached a piece here, and I pulled them together, and mine was gone because I'd always had the parts. I had two new agents come in. They called me up and says, I need help. How do we do this? And so they came in, we sat down. I started asking them all these questions for the next couple of hours and a pot of coffee. And tell me what you're going to do. Ask, how are you going to do it? And it went on and on. And when we got towards, a couple of hours, he says, well, but how do we write it? I said, you just write down what you told me for the last 2 hours and you're done. And they both looked at me and came out in unison as, you ought to be teaching this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then the light bulb went off. All right, I can reach more if I put it in print. So I started working on From the Bottom Up.
Isn't that cool? It's like you had this natural gift that was just waiting to come out of you. It just needed the opportunity.
Yeah, the little thought process from somebody that sees the bigger picture or something, and I've always liked helping people, so that's why I was helping those two, and then they in turn helped me by, oh yeah, I should do this.
Isn't that wonderful that you were sharing from your heart, you were sharing out of generosity, and then because they had that experience with you and you impacted them in that way, that opened up the door for you to lead you on this path that is now your primary business.
Right. And I changed careers after 25 years. I left the insurance industry, but I bring all that knowledge that I've gained throughout that forward. And then just continued to focus on businesses, helping new businesses get off the ground. And just like you said, taking that idea in their head and putting it on a piece of paper. And then that's just part one. And then part two is, right, now what are we going to, steps you got to take to put it in action?
Oh, yeah. So it's not just knowing what's in your head and putting it on paper, but it's also bringing that piece of paper to life.
Right. And so many people, I can write this. And then they said, okay, we got it written. And they'll throw it off to the side and do whatever they wanted to do. But if somebody said they needed a business plan, well, okay, let's get busy. But now we need to work the plan. Otherwise, you just wasted all that time and energy not doing the planning to get going and track yourself of what you're doing. And so it's been an interesting run seeing some of the people's concept of what the business plan is all about.
I bet. And I'm really curious too, because I have to admit to you and be totally transparent. I did not write a business plan when I started this business that I'm in now, my public speaking coaching business. And talking to you, I wish that I had. And I'm also curious, when does someone need a business plan? And are there times when they don't, or does everybody need one if they have a business?
Well, everybody needs one. It's just how much detail. It depends on how you're going to use it. If you're going in to look for funding or a partner, an investor, you're going to need a lot of information in a plan. I've seen business plans from cocktail napkins to novels. Wouldn't recommend a cocktail napkin, but I mean, that's how simple you can get with this. There are programs out there called the one-page business plan. I've seen it, but you still have to have a little more detail that's not in that document, like your budgets and stuff like that. It gets the highlight. And if it's just a one-person business, they're not seeking funding. They just need something to guide them through. You can get by with a page or two. This is what I want, why I'm in business. This is how I'm going to run the business. This is the people I'm looking for, and this is how I'm going after.
I see. So you can really have, it's like a full spectrum. Do you
Right.
help people for in any stage of that, whether they're in the just above the cocktail napkin phase all the way to the novel phase? Do you
Yes.
help people in all phases of business?
Yes. And I go back with, like I say, with mine. Uh, when I was in the insurance, mine was about an inch thick because of all the supporting documents. And I've done some that were, 2 pages, maybe three when you add in a budget statement. And I've talked to lenders over the years and say, all right, what's the key pieces that people come in looking for? Money, and what's the stumbling point? He said, one, they don't have it written down. I said, well, I know it's all right here. Well, that sounds fine, but I can't read your mind. And the other,
Yes.
they have incomplete financials. Their financial statements, oh, this is year one. Okay, what about 2, 3, and forward? And so there's some key pieces that you need to have some help with to identify, make sure you have them all. And the other part of that is somebody that has a business plan, they're happy with it, but maybe I like to have a second opinion.
Mm.
So I will review their business plan and give them feedback on it.
That sounds so valuable. So you're really an expert in knowing what's needed in the business plan, what could be missing, even how to revise it to make it stronger. And well, it sounds like you're saying that one of the main reasons to have a business plan, or one of the most important reasons to have a business plan, is if you are going to lenders, to seek investment in your business. Are there other reasons to have a business plan or other benefits of having a business plan?
Well, it's the roadmap.
Mm.
Your business, think of the roadmap that we use. I'm old school baby boomer, so I grew up using maps. Well, if you go on vacation, you're planning your route, but people aren't doing that with their business, so they're running basically by the seat of their pants on how they're going to do this. They don't know what direction to go. So all of a sudden something happens. Right now, how do I do this? But this is where I want to be. It gives them that track to follow. So you should have some type of guiding principle. In our social media company, we kept changing how we were looking because this process wasn't working. All right, so now we got to modify this. And the core pieces stayed the same: the mission, vision, principles. Those didn't change. It's how the company was structured. So therefore, my addition to the business plan was basically a flow chart. So, they come in here, they go to this one, then they go to this one, and then they go to this one. This is how we're operating because we know who we're going to target. We've already identified that. And so we just work from that. And it's okay. Here's the core pieces. Here's the operation piece that we had because we had at one point 7 employees, right? How to explain to them how they're going to go once they bring somebody in.
Ah, I
So
love that. I love that it's a roadmap. That helps me think about too, that idea that, some businesses really, it can be simple. They don't need all of those elements. Whereas other businesses, like you're describing, they need lots of different sections in their business plan. And it helps me to see, as an entrepreneur, that I have crafted a business plan. I've just never put it in that container of this
Right.
is my business plan. And I can see how someone, even a solopreneur like me, that it would be so valuable to have your guidance and your expertise in how to take all of those things that are in your head or that you've written down in different places and bring them all into one document to be your roadmap and your guide.
Excellent. And that's what it is you write a business plan for yourself, because this is how you want to do business. So like with your business, your coaching and speaking and podcasting, you start out by who is my ideal person that I want to help. That's the key point is what do they look like? When I was in insurance, everybody needs insurance. Everybody's my prospect. Wrong. I almost went out of business with that mindset. And because I was trying to be too much to everybody and not enough to the right groups. So I started sitting down, right? Where are the people that I have the most success with? So we set up an age range. Normally it's 5 to 10 years either side of your old age is a good rule of thumb. Were they white collar? Were they blue collar? Where did they get their news from? What did they, and again, I started before internet, and so you had to do a lot more homework than we do today with some of the things that we can find online. But we identified all this. And so we were going to focus on this particular niche. So, right, we're out there with a precision catching fish instead of with a one fishing line versus a dip net trying to get what you want in a scoop. So we could focus on that, and then our business took off. So we identified and narrowed down to get the right marketplace.
That sounds so helpful. And to realize even that is part of a business plan. If someone is just starting out, if they're an entrepreneur or if they're starting a small business, what are the first steps? What are the first steps to building that business plan? What do they need to think about?
Well, if somebody, let's say somebody that's got this great idea for a business, they call me. We're going to go through several questions, and I want to know, about their dreams and their goals for this. And one is, do they need money to start it up, or it's, coaching consulting. It's not a large upfront investment, as if you've experienced. But if you're starting out a carpentry shop or something like that, you've got a much bigger investment. And the other piece I ask them is, how much time can you allocate to the business? Is it going to be a side hustle? Are you going to transition from your current employer to this full time? So those are all going to vary on time frame. And can you afford, or are you prepared to invest that time and money to get the business going?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people says, guess not, and hang up at that point in time.
What a gift.
Realize how much it was going to take to get that going. And so those are some of the first things that I want to know. I'm a firm believer in, if it's not going to be valuable for you to invest your money with me, I'm not taking it. Because that's just the way I have been all my life. And I want to make sure you're getting value for your dollar.
That's such a gift that you give people. I know there are so many people who start a business and they don't really understand what goes into it. They don't even know. They don't even know what questions to ask. And so they don't realize that they're investing time and money into something that they really don't have the time and money for. And so to come to someone like you right off the bat, who knows what questions to ask, who can ask those targeted questions, and help people even discern, is this a business I want to start? And do I have the funds? Am I willing to invest the time? Am I willing to invest the energy? What an incredible gift you're giving people with that.
Well, then that's when we start talking too at that part, and like I say, I just trying to get this conversation started with, so they're thinking is we start talking about who their market's going to be. They have this idea that this is work, but are they looking at the right market, and is that pool of people big enough to support the business? You might have a very small group that you can not make a successful business out of such a small group. And so thinking about all those things is it maybe just keep it as a hobby.
Mm.
And, make a few bucks here and there as a hobby versus trying to make a business. And there are things like that.
So you're also you're not just helping people create the roadmap, but you're helping them decide what trip do they want to go on, and do they want to go on a trip at all?
Exactly, because that's the key piece is if you don't have the time and willing to make the investment, why do you want, to go into something this big? Because it's not for the faint at heart. We've known that, we've lived it, we're living it. And so, again, that's learning from my 35 plus years as a business owner. I, learn the hard way some days.
That's right. You have so much experience to draw on that you've been through this. So not only do you have the knowledge and the years of honing in the ability to show people how to craft a business plan, but you have the lived experience of owning and running a business. So
Yeah.
there's so much that you offer. And I'm wondering, when somebody kind of passes the muster, they're ready, they know they're going to start a business and they're ready to invest their energy and their time into it. What things do they often forget about if they're crafting a business plan? What might they leave out, or what might they not realize that they need to even be thinking about?
Well, and a lot of it we get into, they don't think in the big picture of where they want to end up 4, 5, 10, 20 years down the road.
Oh,
They're looking at the very short term versus the long term. And a lot of times they'll see, okay, I can do this a couple of years, but they don't think what's happening beyond that. And especially when it comes to planning the financials, they don't realize what it costs to run a business. The other place that we see a lot of people struggle with, if they're an employee right now, and then they're going to go self-employed. There's a lot of things that they have to take into account that a lot of them haven't. Or if they have thought about it, health insurance is one, right? Oh, I'm getting it for $100 a month. I can still do that after I leave that. And I kind of laugh with them. I says, have you looked at it? No. And then I tell them the real world experience that corporate benefits are not affordable in the private sector. At that point, last one I talked to like that is she had this idea that she could spend a couple $100 a month to get the same level of coverage. And I would tell her, I said, well, I have a $1,500 deductible on my wife, and it still costs me $1,000 a month for that plan. And then it made her rethink her goal of starting a business. So she maintained a side hustle. She started the side hustle, reduced her hours to just above the qualifying for benefits, and invested that other time in the side business.
Hmm.
So thinking like that, right? How can I keep this, do what I want here, and have some flexibility? So looking at those options, I've made that transition twice. And so I understand what it's like going through there when you have to dig a little bit deeper in your pocket. And a lot of people have a misconception, and this is what gets them in trouble too, of what owning a business really is.
Mm-hmm.
And you've heard the saying, I'm sure, that entrepreneurship is the only place you give up a 40-hour work week to work 80 hours.
That's right. Isn't that the truth?
And so, there's a lot of misconception in trying to help people understand it before they take that leap. And, oh, I just quit my job. Now I'm going to start a business. And then they find out too little, too late that I can't afford to start a business. I need that job.
Yeah, and really learning everything that goes into it. And I love that you help people see the longer range plan, not just the next year, next 2 years. I think even for myself, thinking about my business that, yeah, I do consider my goals or where I want to go, but I haven't thought about that in terms of the more concrete business plan. And I imagine there are a lot of entrepreneurs in that boat where, yeah, we think about our goals, but not so concrete as you're inviting people to do, to think about all those steps that it takes to get to that place. And how do you put that in? How do you implement those steps? So you're really playing a long game to get to that bigger goal of your business.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other pieces I always encourage everybody to do is they identify this time and money. Have they talked to their spouse or partner about it? I've seen some people come in and, they want to dump 10, 15, 20,000 and they don't tell their spouse. I did that. I'd be in divorce court.
Oh, no.
But I mean, it's something to think because they're your biggest supporter.
Yeah.
You don't have the backing of your family. And so keeping that communication out there is always key. And so I always make sure that they involved in that fact finding discussion that we have, that they discuss those with their partner before we move forward, because I want to make sure they're going to have that support. Again, we're going to do it the right thing for the right reason. Otherwise, we're going to take 2 steps back and rethink everything.
Oh, wow. That's so true. And that's so valuable because it really is both sides that communication is important so that you're not surprising your partner with something, that you're spending, a certain amount of money on something, or that there's going to be this undue stress on you that they may not know about, but also that you're really bringing them into the process. Because I know, my husband's one of my biggest supporters and my biggest cheerleaders, and having that communication open so that he knows what's going on. I can share with him my struggles or share with him what's difficult. It provides me with so much emotional support because the going does get tough when you have your own business. So that you're opening those channels of communication and really bringing the partner into the process so that they can get that support. What an incredibly valuable thing to do.
Well, and like I said, I know where I would be, like you just said with your husband. And that's the same way my wife is to me from day one when I entered the entrepreneurial world. And if it wasn't for her, I would have never succeeded. And it continues that way. And I'll start to get, well, maybe I should do this. She says, no, you can't. You got to keep focusing here. It keeps my head on straight just because we've had that communication. And so that is what I really appreciate, having that involvement. Because who else do we talk to? Our partners are normally our best friends.
That's right.
On top of many other hats that they wear, and so I like to make sure, because it preserves that family dynamic. I've seen too many horror stories over the years that didn't go as planned because you didn't tell your wife you did what? Okay. I'm not coming around your house no more.
And that's the last thing you need when you're starting a business, is to have more stress, more stress in your life. So mitigating those and talking about that, about the stressful parts of starting a business. Are there any ways that you can make creating your business plan, make it less stressful or make it easier? Are there any tips that you have for that?
Well, one of the things I like to tell people to do is break it down. There's so many different pieces within a business plan that you have. There's probably 15, 18 topics that you got to come up with. Well, I always say, take a piece of paper, even if it's just your mission statement, write it out, put it off to the side, pick up another piece, do the vision, and then put it off to the side and just concentrate on that one section at a time. Don't think about this big collective plan because it's going to stress you out. And that's how even when I wrote the book, I did that. I focused on one piece at a time because I don't have to think about, all right, I got to have this, 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 and this, and I got to have this.
Oh, that is brilliant advice. I love this. And this idea of taking out one piece of paper, or, if you prefer writing on the computer, just one blank Word document or Google document or whatever you use, to have this container so you're not having to be so overwhelmed by the big picture. I feel like this advice could apply to so many things in business.
Well, it does, and I always think it's like eating an elephant, one bite at a time.
That's right. That's right.
As you can tell, I like to have fun when I work. Otherwise, I wouldn't do the things I've done. But it helps lighten it, and that's how I reduce the stress with people. Even if, like you say, if you're on the computer, you have nothing on that paper until you put it there. So you're not adding on to something. That's what copy and paste is for.
That's right. That's what copy and paste is for.
And so I do that all the time. Yet if I'm doing something, I'll create it on a separate sheet and then put it in, because all I want to do is focus on the task at hand. I don't want to look at it how it fits in. I know the topic I'm writing about, whether it's a response to an email or something, that I just want to get a few fresh ideas, and I'll take it out so there's nothing to distract. And by doing this one piece, and then you can as you start to build it together, Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to, add it in, copy and paste, whatever it is, how you're doing it. I can say old school, I use paper. I go through a lot of legal pads a year.
I
But
just think that's incredible advice. And I can see how when someone comes to you to work with you on their business plan, how you just reduce the stress in so many different ways, that you have these tools that you've cultivated and crafted to help people make this thing that can feel so daunting and so overwhelming, to make it feel so doable and so much simpler.
well, that's the thing. I can remember early on in my careers when our company that I worked for in the insurance, went from an employee to, oh, we're going to make everybody a independent contractor as of January 1. Okay, well, here I'm just a young kid. I had no idea what this stuff was about. I'm in early 20s, and all of a sudden I hear, how do I do this? Well, my supervisor at the time was a huge business exec. He was a consultant to the ag industry in Russia for a while. I mean, that's how big level this guy was. And he said, I got a surprise for you guys at our next meeting. And we thought he had something in his purse that he always carried around. But it ended up, he brought his accountant in from Chicago to Michigan, to Southeast Michigan, to explain to us how to prepare a proper budget. And I'm looking at this document, and it's full of all these different categories. My stress level just went, ee. And then he said, no, wait a minute, 90% of these you're not even going to fool with. Okay, I can breathe again.
Oh,
And so, that kind of was the start of where okay, now if we break this down to only what I need, and I don't have to fool with it. And, all of a sudden my heart settled down and I can breathe and, okay, I feel better about what I'm doing because I needed maybe 10 categories at that point in time out of this whole page full. And I was thinking, right, how am I going to pay for this? And that when we look at those pieces of it, thinking about the money piece, a lot of folks don't have a clue, all your filings and stuff. So we start breaking it down simple before they get involved in spending a lot of money. I just hate to see people waste hard-earned money. And so any way I can do to help them keep it in their pocket, I'm good.
absolutely. And that you have that knowledge that you can be like, when you had that big budget in front of you and it was so overwhelming, that you're the one who can say, hey, this is the thing you need. You do need to focus on these areas.
Mm-hmm.
Here are ways that you can do it, that it's not as stressful. And you don't have to focus on all these other areas. These are not things that you need to worry about. So you can be that guide so that they're not as overwhelmed, but they're also not doing work. You're not doing work that you don't need to be doing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of folks, even as they're already got a business going, but they haven't written their business plan to that next step. Okay, I've got it up and running. What do I do next? Well, that's what the plan's for.
Ah,
I had a young lady that was referred to me, and I met with her. I drove a couple hours to meet with her. I like to go face to face if at all possible. And I had some other business in that area, so I just made a day trip of it. But we got up through there, and I'm talking to her, finding out what she had, what she's doing. And her business was doing some group consulting, right? How many people are showing up? She said, I'm lucky to get 2 or 3. But she had a franchise agreement for her business.
oh no.
You're going to tell somebody they should start a franchise, but you can't fill your workshops? You got it backwards. She had the check written out for me for the deposit on our work. And I said, okay, I'm not taking it, but what I need you to do.
We had some technical difficulties at the end of this interview. And so David was take 3. What a delight it was to speak with David Brown about writing a business plan. We had some technical difficulties at the end of the interview. So that's why take 3, take 4. It was such a pleasure meeting with David Brown and learning more about how to craft a business plan. We had some technical difficulties at the end of the interview, so we got cut off at the very end. So I'm here to tell you about David's incredible book, How to Create a Business Plan Lenders Will Love. I have a copy of this book and I love it. It's a fantastic guide to write your business plan. So whether you're like me and you've been in business for a while, but never put everything into one container of a business plan, or if you've already written a business plan and it needs to be revised, or if you're starting your business right now, this is the best time to write your business plan. Grab yourself a copy of that book. You can do that on David's page, www.businessplananswerman.com. As soon as you go there, right on the homepage, you'll see how you can get your copy of How to Write a Business Plan Lenders Will Love. Go and download that right now. You're going to love it as much as I do. And this is something that you may not have even realized you need, but will help set you up for success in your business. It was such a joy to have David on today to share with us more about a business plan, the importance of it, and how to make it so much less stressful. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.